Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Still Wakes the Deep, a horror walking simulator set on an oil rig that drills too greedily and too deep. Is this the next great spooktacular? Let's find out. Still Wakes the Deep is the latest game by the Chinese Room, the team that basically invented walking sims with Dear Esther, and later Amnesia, Machine for Pigs, and Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. This time we're in the shoes of Kaz, Scottish worker on an oil rig in the 1970s, whose decision to go to sea estranged his wife and family. Before he can solve that, however, the rig drills to something supernatural, and before long, the platform is overtaken by fleshy, Lovecraftian gunk that assimilates and transforms the crew, not unlike The Thing. Kaz and a small group of survivors have to make the best of a bad situation to figure out either how to get off the rig or stop the monster for good. The most compelling bit of the story is its focus on Scottish actors, which, hilariously, the English subtitles translates the jargon into something I could understand. They also swear like, well, sailors. I'd say this is the most profanity per minute game I've ever encountered, though considering the situation, I'd say it's warranted. Kaz unfortunately doesn't have much agency in the story, as most of the game is him being told by someone to do something and then he goes and does it. All the way to the big final choice being somebody telling him to do the big heroic thing. Kaz isn't very proactive is what I'm saying. Gameplay wise, this is very basic. Most of your experience is walking from point A to point B, with occasional first person platforming or climbing punctuated by a quick time event should things get dicey. You'll climb ladders or jump to nearby big yellow things to grab them, the usual stuff. There's also some light stealth when the transformed crew comes to call, though it's also very basic. You'll have plenty of areas to sneak into and the monsters are too stupid to hunch down and grab you. You can also grab various things like coffee cups or whatever and throw them to make noise to distract the monsters. Along the way, you'll have plenty of spooky set pieces, two recurring ones being Kaz seeing a murdered or transformed crew member and calling them out by their name, which was a nice touch, or someone ringing them on the rig's phones to deliver scary dialogue. It's a short game, around 4 hours, with not much to return to unless you're an achievement hunter, and that is really Still Wakes the Deep. Lovecraftian horrors from the sea on an oil rig, with lots of historical touches and plenty of Scottish accents. So what did I like about Still Wakes the Deep? Well, the voice acting here is phenomenal. As mentioned, I'm very grateful for the English subtitles, as some of those Scottish accents were so thick I had no clue what they were saying. But regardless, the performances absolutely knocked it out of the park, particularly Kaz. Additionally, the game looks great, especially anything to do with the surreal entity they drilled up. That is a horrifying mix of fleshy from The Thing and surreal chromatic distortion like Annihilation. And lastly, I appreciated the research the team did in making sure their representation of this era was authentic. There's tons of small details in environments, character dialogue, and more that really solidifies the time period and setting that makes this very immersive. When it comes to the bad, this story's pacing is very uneven, leading to a middle section that feels undercooked, with not enough scares or story, and an ending that was comedically predictable and felt unearned. I also wish they'd spent more time with the crew members so you could get attached to them before things got gnarly. Speaking of things getting gnarly, this game isn't really that scary, and while I appreciate the lack of jump scares, it doesn't do much to exude an ambiance of unease that these types of walking simulators require. It feels like a very basic representation of its genre, and that really shows. And lastly, I don't really complain about walking simulators, but this one really has very little aside from walking and light platforming challenges. There's almost no puzzles, and even the stealth sections are incredibly easy on any difficulty. Even for the genre, the gameplay here is light. As you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale, must play, maybe consider, and don't bother, and Still Wakes the Deep has all of the Chinese Room's strengths and weaknesses on full display. It's got fantastic vocal performances and gorgeous visuals, but is brought down by uneven storytelling and a lack of atmosphere, not to mention the short length. For a Game Pass game, if you enjoy spooky walking sims, it's worth the trip, but at its asking price, I'd say only get it on sale, and only if you really like this dev's other games. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Did you play Still Wakes the Deep? Did you play it on Game Pass? Do you enjoy spooky walking simulators? Please let me know in the comments, but regardless, go up there and maybe give this game a look if you have Game Pass.